Imagine this. You're standing in the flickering half-light of a fire, but it isn't the comforting warmth of your living room. The air is thick and stings your eyes, an acrid blend of wood smoke, sour ale, sweat, and the unwashed scent of 50 human bodies pressed together. You can feel it clinging to your skin, soaking into your clothes. You are not safe here. You are not alone. And you are most certainly not in control. Tonight is your wedding night. But in the Viking world, this night is not about love, not about romance, not even about privacy. It is a transaction, a performance, and you are one of the two unwilling stars about to be paraded before an audience that cannot look away. The longhouse around you is a single cavern of roaring life. Men with braided beards and scarred faces laugh and jeer, their voices echoing against the timber walls. Women, your new family, your old family, and people you barely know pressing close. Every eye is on you. You can feel their stares like the heat from the central hearth, which spits and crackles, sending up showers of sparks that dance in the smoky air. Those sparks cast shadows that twist across the walls, turning familiar faces into monstrous mass. They are here to celebrate, yes, but they are also here to witness, to make sure the contract, your marriage, is sealed not just in word, but in flesh. And until that happens, you are the evening's unfinished business. At the far end of the hall, there is no bridal suite, no door to close. Only a small alcove curtained off with a sheet of coarse linen. Behind it, a bed, if you can call it that, built of rough timber, heaped with straw and heavy furs that smell faintly of damp animal hide. This thin piece of cloth is the sole barrier between the most intimate act of your life and the hungry eyes of dozens of people who have no intention of leaving until the show is over. And make no mistake, this isn't a celebration of your union. It's a verification ritual, the final step in a business deal struck long before you had any say in it, if you ever had a say at all. The truth is, your marriage has almost nothing to do with you. There was no courtship, no tender glances across a market stall. Your father or your brother, if your father was gone, negotiated this match like a trade agreement. They weren't looking for a partner you could love. They were looking for land, wealth, alliances, calculated advantages that could mean the difference between a winter of full bellies or a winter of starvation, between peace and a bloody feud. You are not here because you were chosen for your charm or kindness. You are here because you are valuable. And that value was measured in cattle, in silver, in the weight of your family's name. A bride price munder was paid directly to your family. In the coldest terms, you have been purchased. The ceremony you've just endured was not a romantic exchange of vows, but a public declaration of property transfer. There were boasts and oaths shouted over the clatter of feasting, the exchange of gifts with heavy symbolism that has already been twisted in the centuries since. The keys you were given to the longhouse, not a sign of power, but a symbol of responsibility. You now manage his household, his servants, his food stores. The sword your family gave him, a reminder that your protection is his duty and his right. And now all of that pomp and noise has led to this moment, the bed-warming ritual, the part where the curtain will be drawn aside, not just for you to step in, but for your private life to end before it has even begun. You feel the eyes on you as a group of chosen witnesses, family members from both sides, move toward you. Their laughter is heavier now, their jests sharper. You are led forward through the smoky hall, the curtain pulled back, and you are ushered into the tiny, airless space. The witnesses remain outside, close enough for their shadows to dance on the fabric, their ears straining for proof that the deal has been sealed. This is not intimacy, this is inspection. And in the Viking world, your survival depends on passing it. The first gray light of dawn seeps through the smoke hole above, spilling into the hall like a silent intruder. The fire that roared the night before is now only a bed of dull red embers, barely clinging to life. Around you, the longhouse is a tangle of sleeping bodies, men, women, children, even livestock near the doorway for warmth. The air is heavy with the layered sense of stale ale, old smoke, and the sour breath of 50 people who have shared the same air all night. The witnesses from last night, finally satisfied, have collapsed onto their benches. The cacophony is different now. Less laughter, more snoring. For the first time, you are alone with your husband. But it is not the kind of aloneness you imagine. It is not relief, it is exposure. He turns toward you, not with tenderness, but with formality. In your hand, he places something cold and solid. This is the Morgen Gifu, the morning gift. In the romantic retellings of later centuries, this is painted as a sweet gesture, a token of affection. But here now, in the raw truth of the Viking world, it is nothing of the sort. The Morgen Gifu is payment, a confirmation that you were as expected a virgin and that the marriage was consummated to his satisfaction. It might be a silver brooch, a set of keys, or even a small parcel of land if he is wealthy. And while it is yours to keep truly yours, the one thing he cannot take it is not a gift of love. It is an insurance policy, a severance package in case he decides to send you away. Because he can. From this moment on, the rules that govern your marriage are as rigid as they are unforgiving. You are not a partner in a romantic union. You are a critical piece of his household machinery, expected to run it smoothly, bear his children, and uphold his honor. Every task you do, every word you say, will be measured against the unspoken standard of whether you are worth the price he paid. And privacy, that is a concept you must forget. The longhouse is one vast communal room. Every argument, every illness, every act of intimacy will have an audience. Your bed, such as it is, might be a small enclosed box bed that offers the illusion of seclusion. But the stale, airless darkness inside will remind you that it is only an illusion. Most people simply sleep on the long benches along the walls, bodies piled together for warmth, breaths mingling. From this day forward, sex will not be a matter of passion. It will be a duty. Something performed quickly, quietly, with the paranoid awareness of your mother-in-law sleeping just feet away, of curious children pretending to be asleep, of servants listening in the dark. The contract demands children, and the sooner you produce an heir, the more secure your position, at least for a while. But the bed itself is no sanctuary. The mattress, the Helmsra, is a sack of coarse cloth stuffed with straw, a haven for fleas, lice, and other vermin. The furs piled on top are greasy from years of use, never washed, still carrying the animal scent of the creatures they came from. This is where you will conceive children, recover from childbirth, and weather sickness. This is where your survival will depend on shutting down your senses and swallowing your pride. Because here, the most private space you will ever have is still in full view of the longhouse, and the longhouse never sleeps. From the moment you receive your Morgen Gifu, the clock starts ticking. Your true value in this marriage, the reason your bride price was paid, is not to be a companion. It is to produce children, preferably sons. In the Viking world, an heir is not a blessing. It is a requirement. Infertility, almost always blamed on the woman, is a catastrophe. If 2 or 3 years pass without a pregnancy, your husband can divorce you, and he will do it publicly. Witnesses will be summoned to stand at your bed and by the door of the longhouse as he declares your barrenness to the entire household. You will be sent back to your family in shame, your worth reduced to nothing, your chances of remarriage almost zero. You will live the rest of your life as a dependent, a reminder of a failed alliance. Every month without pregnancy is a step closer to ruin. Every day is heavy with the silent, gnawing fear that your body might betray you. But what if you do conceive? The rules do not change. Pregnancy is no excuse for rest. The keys to the longhouse you were given on your wedding day are not ceremonial. They represent your unending responsibilities. You are expected to manage the household, oversee the servants, prepare food, weave cloth, tend to the animals, and do it all while carrying a child. There is no maternity leave, no special treatment. To slow down is to risk being seen as weak. And then comes childbirth. It will not happen in a clean, quiet room. It will not happen with trained doctors or sterile tools. It will happen here in your flea-infested bed or in a crude birthing hut surrounded by the women of your husband's family. Some may help you with genuine care. Others will watch with judgment in their eyes, their assistance colored by rivalry and superstition. There are no antiseptics, no understanding of germs. They will chant, burn offerings, and use remedies made from herbs or animal dung. Childbirth here is a gamble with death, and the stakes are as high for the mother as they are for the child. And if the child survives the birth, a darker test awaits. The newborn will be placed on the floor. Your husband will approach and examine it, not to admire its face, but to search for defects. A cleft palate, a clubfoot, signs of weakness. Any of these can seal the infant's fate. If he accepts the child, he will lift it into his arms. If he rejects it, he will turn away. That rejection is a death sentence. In the Viking world, an unwanted child is taken into the wilderness, left on a rock in the cold, to die from exposure or to be claimed by wild animals. This act has a name, utburder, and as the mother you will have no say. You will be forced to lie there, bleeding and broken, as the child you carried for 9 months is carried away forever. The only way to survive this moment is to harden something deep inside you, to build a wall around your grief so high and so strong that it will keep you from breaking. Because here, a mother's love is powerless against a father's decision. On the surface, Viking law offers women something surprisingly rare for the medieval world, the right to divorce. It sounds empowering, modern even, but in truth it is a blade with 2 edges, and one edge is aimed at you. Yes, you can divorce your husband, but only under certain conditions. If he strikes you in public, you can end the marriage immediately. This isn't because the Vikings disapproved of violence, far from it. It's because such an act was a public stain on his honor. A man who must hit his wife is seen as weak, unable to control his household through respect and authority. You can also divorce him if he wears clothing considered unmanly, a neckline cut so low it exposes his chest, for example. This has nothing to do with modesty or fashion. It is about the ever-present terror of being accused of urgy, a word that condemns a man as cowardly, effeminate, or sexually submissive to another man. In the Viking code, such an accusation is so lethal it can strip a man of his honor, his rights, and even his life. But knowing you have the right and daring to use it are 2 very different things. Imagine standing in the center of the longhouse, surrounded by your husband's brothers, cousins, and father, all warriors, all fiercely protective of their clan's name, and accusing him of dishonor. You are not simply leaving a man, you are attacking the pride of an entire family. You would be lucky to make it out alive. For him, divorce is far simpler. Beyond barrenness, he can send you away for being lazy, for arguing too much, for failing to manage the household to his satisfaction. He can accuse you of infidelity, and that alone will destroy you socially. When he divorces you, he keeps the house, the land, and the children. You keep only your Morgan Gifu and your shame. This imbalance turns the Viking bedroom into a battlefield where every word and gesture is loaded with risk. You must be willing, but not too eager. Compliant, but not useless. Strong enough to manage the home, but never so strong as to challenge his authority. And then there is the matter of his other women. While your loyalty must be absolute, his is optional. He may have concubines, often enslaved women taken during raids, living in the same longhouse as you. You will see them every day, serve beside them, watch them bear his children. These children could rival your own for inheritance and favor. But this is not considered betrayal. It is his right. Your survival depends on swallowing your resentment and maintaining your position as the chief wife. Here, the marriage bed is not a sanctuary. It is a political stage, and every night you are expected to perform. Failure is not just personal, it can be fatal. If you strip away the sagas, the jewelry, and the cinematic glory, the Viking world was not one of shining halls and heroic feasts. It was a world of relentless filth. Forget the idea of daily baths or clean linens. Water came from rivers, wells, or streams, and in the deep Scandinavian winter, that meant hacking through thick ice to reach it. Every drop for drinking, cooking, or washing had to be hauled by hand, usually by women or slaves, in buckets so heavy they carved grooves into shoulders over time. Bathing was reserved for Lørdag, or washing day, the ancestor of our word Saturday. Even then, the whole household used the same tub, one after another, in water that went from warm to tepid to filthy soup. The bed you share with your husband is a living ecosystem. The straw mattress harbors fleas and lice that bite through the night. The furs are greasy with years of sweat, never washed, still carrying the musk of the animals they once belonged to. There is no perfume, no scented soap. Breath is sour with tooth decay, and teeth are worn to stumps by the grit in stone-ground flour. Intimacy in such conditions is not the soft-focus fantasy of modern romance. It is a negotiation with your own senses. And then there is menstruation. With no pads or tampons, you use what you can, strips of worn linen, tufts of sheep's wool, even moss gathered from the forest. These must be washed and reused, a task made humiliating by the lack of privacy. Where do you rinse blood-soaked cloths in a hall of 50 people? Where do you dry them without displaying them for all to see? Even if you manage discretion, you are still navigating superstition. A menstruating woman might be shunned, told she can spoil food or curse a hunt simply by her presence. The toilet, the Salerni, is no better. It is a small outhouse over a pit, cold enough in winter to numb your hands and feet within moments. No paper, only moss or scraps of wool. The pit is rarely emptied, its stench so strong it clings to clothing and hair. In this environment, disease spreads quickly. Dysentery, fevers, intestinal parasites. A single illness can sweep through the longhouse like fire through dry grass. Imagine carrying a child in these conditions, morning sickness in a smoky, airless room, labor in a bed crawling with fleas, recovery without clean sheets or medicine. Every act of survival here is paid for in discomfort, humiliation, and quiet endurance. In the Viking world, the bedroom is not a refuge. It is another battlefield, one where the enemies are not rival clans, but the parasites, infections, and constant exposure that wear you down from the inside out. If you think the Viking longhouse spares anyone from its brutality, look to the thrall, the slaves. They are the invisible gears in this grinding machine of survival. They serve your food, tend your children, fetch your water, and yet they own nothing, not even their bodies. There is no word for the rape of a slave in Old Norse law, because the concept did not exist. Legally, a slave could not be violated. They could only be used like livestock. On any given night, your husband, his sons, his brothers, or even a guest he wishes to honor, may decide to take a slave woman. It can happen on the sleeping benches, in the shadows of the hearth, or in plain sight. Her screams, if she dares, will go unanswered. Her resistance will be crushed by overwhelming force, and you, the wife, will watch. You will hear it through the thin curtain of your bed, or see it from across the hall. You will do nothing. To intervene is not compassion, it is rebellion against your husband's rights. It is as unthinkable as stopping him from slaughtering his own sheep. Survival demands you learn to look away. But this system of coercion is not reserved for the enslaved. The line between a wife's marital duty and outright force is drawn in shifting sand. Your consent is assumed to be permanent from the moment the marriage is sealed. Refusal can be seen as defiance grounds for divorce, for shame, for ruin. A husband may never strike you without risking dishonor, but there are other ways to break you. The unspoken threat of violence, the slow grind of humiliation, the fear of being cast out. Men, too, live under a constant shadow, the shadow of ergi. This word is more than an insult. It is a death sentence in the Viking mind. It marks a man as unmanly, cowardly, and worst of all, sexually passive to another man. To be accused of ergi is to have your honor ripped away, leaving you an outlaw, a niddinger, whom anyone may kill without consequence. Your property can be seized, your name erased. This fear explains the almost absurd paranoia over masculine display, why a man wearing a shirt cut too low could be grounds for divorce. It was never about fashion. It was about stamping out even the faintest suggestion of weakness before it could take root. Here, intimacy is never private, it is a performance. For men, it is proof of dominance. For women, it is proof of compliance. And for the enslaved, it is simply survival in the face of complete powerlessness. Years in the longhouse pass not as a flowing river, but as the slow grinding of ice. Each season etches its mark on you: harvests, winters, births, deaths. The face that peers back from a polished shield is no longer the one you remember. Your skin is weathered, your hair ashen, your hands bent into claws from decades of weaving, grinding grain, and hauling buckets of water. You have outlived your husband, not in a blaze of glory on a raid, but to a fever that cooked him from the inside out. You have buried children, some claimed by winter cough, others by bloody flux, and a few taken in childbirth. You have endured, but here, endurance is not reward, it is merely the prelude to another test. Old age in the Viking world is not a gentle descent. It is a narrowing, a slow eviction from relevance. Your son inherits the role of chieftain. He takes a new wife, and you watch as she receives the same cold Morgengifu you once did. The same set of household keys that now pass from your hand to hers. You are still a figure of authority in name, but in truth you are now a dependent, another mouth to feed. Every bite of bread, every scrap of meat, comes at the discretion of your son and his wife. You begin to feel the cruel arithmetic you once applied to others now being measured against you. Are you still useful? Can you still mend nets, weave cloth, care for children? Or have you become nothing but a burden? Your body betrays you daily. Your joints burn with pain that no poultice can ease. Your vision clouds, your breath comes short. Even the short, cold walk to the Salerni outhouse is a trial. The longhouse, once the center of your life, now feels like a prison of noise and smoke you cannot escape. You retreat into memories, but they are crowded with ghosts. Your husband, your lost children, the women you saw crushed under the same weight you bore. And then the sickness comes. Not sudden, but creeping, a cough that lingers, a fever that rises, the weakness that keeps you on your straw mattress for days. Death here is public, as life always was. You lie in the same bed where you once endured your wedding night, gave birth, recovered from fevers, and listened to the sounds of others' lives bleeding through the thin curtain. The longhouse continues around you, arguments, laughter, the crying of a new baby. You are a ghost before you are gone. When the end comes, it is not marked by ceremony, for you are not a king nor a saga hero bound for Valhalla. You are washed, dressed in your best clothes worn but mended. Perhaps your Morgengifu, the one thing you truly owned, is placed in your hand. They carry you from the longhouse for the last time. No burning ship, no golden hall in the afterlife. Just a shallow pit in the cold earth, perhaps lined with stones. A small mound marks the spot, and in time, even that will sink into the landscape. Your bench in the hall is taken by someone else. Your name is spoken for a while, then less and less, until you vanish entirely into the long rhythm of survival. The life you have just walked through in your mind is not a rare tragedy. It is not a single unlucky woman's story pulled from the annals of history. For thousands of years, for the vast majority of people who have ever lived life, was short, public, and relentlessly harsh. Your world, the one you are in right now, is not the norm. It is the exception. Privacy, sanitation, medicine, and the freedom to marry or not marry are luxuries bought with centuries of struggle. For most of human history, these things were unthinkable. We look back at the Viking Age through polished fragments, gleaming swords, intricate brooches, tales of shield maidens and noble warriors. We cherry-pick what we want to remember. But behind every saga hero, there were countless unseen lives lived in smoke-filled rooms, in beds of straw, in a constant negotiation with hunger, disease, and fear. The woman whose life we've just traced left no mark in the sagas. No one carved her name into stone. She was born, endured, and died in the shadows of history. And yet she is the truer reflection of her time than any king or raider. Her story is a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. But it is also a warning, a reminder of how thin the walls of our modern world really are. Civilization is a fragile thing. The rules can change. Comfort can vanish. And the world can become brutal again faster than we dare to imagine. You did not survive the Viking bedroom. You did not survive because you were never there. And in that truth lies a privilege so immense, it is almost beyond comprehension. If this journey into the hidden corners of history made you see the past and your present differently, then don't let it end here. Subscribe for more untold stories. Like this video to help others find it. And tell me in the comments, if you were born 1,000 years ago in the Viking world, Do you think you would have survived?